Ladies and gentlemen, this is yet another reason William Barr is amazing. And I know that people who used to watch me, maybe, some of them might say, well, you're just pandering to your Trump base. First of all, when I was a quote-unquote progressive, I had a great many Trump supporters voting for me, even though watching my channel, even though I voted for Jill Stein. Secondly, my channel and my voice has always resonated with people who just are interested in Democratic Party corruption. I was a lifelong Democrat. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. I wrote 100 articles plus in The Hill. I was a contributor to The Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Jerusalem Post, now the Federalist, and I've been published in the Daily Caller, whole bunch of places, Times of Israel. And so my value system has always stayed the same. I want Americans home. President Trump, and I once thought Bernie Sanders, and I assumed Jill Stein, wanted the same thing. We know that President Trump wants to bring Americans home. We know that he signed a peace deal just in March to end America's longest-running military conflict and war in Afghanistan. We know that. He's also the first president to step foot in North Korea. That alone, beginning détente between North and South Korea, is the biggest foreign policy achievement of any president in decades. You tell me a foreign policy achievement under President Obama, or definitely Bush, that overshadows being the first president to step foot in North Korea and begin détente and begin a roadmap towards peace, where President Moon Jae-in of South Korea stated that Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. South Korea, in my view, is America's strongest ally, the most important ally we have in the world. If you look from a geopolitical perspective, China is going to be the world's number one economy and also perhaps military in 20-25 years. South Korea is the strongest democracy in Asia. And so that's just one reason. I can go on forever. The history of the Cold War, we can go on forever. But the point is this: he's the first president to step foot in North Korea and begin détente, something that no other president got close to doing. Why am I bringing this up? Trump is a great president. And in addition to everything he's doing, everything he did with the economy before this current crisis, everything he's doing in foreign policy, everything he's doing going up against corrupt intelligence officials, we have finally John Ratcliffe being confirmed. So you go from James Clapper to John Ratcliffe. But why is that important? Why is all of this important? Because it's very important. DOJ sides with Church in challenge to this crisis state order limiting gatherings in Virginia. It is absurd to limit church gatherings, just like it is absurd to limit gatherings at a synagogue or a mosque or any place of worship during this crisis. I'll get to the utter hypocrisy and the nauseating hypocrisy and irony of millions, and you're going to have to, this is going to be interactive, so you're going to count the number. I'll give you the numbers, and in the comments section, just give me the totals of how many million voters, how many million Democrats voted in Arizona, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Florida primaries during the pandemic, 3 of which they weren't told to wear masks. So you can have millions upon millions of people vote in primaries, but you can't have people worship. That's interesting. A lot of the left is full of atheists, and philosophically, I'm agnostic philosophically, but I do believe in God. I hope that God exists. I'm Jewish, and if I wanted to go to synagogue for a bar mitzvah, I would. I wouldn't even think twice during this crisis if the synagogue was open, and even if it was against the guidelines, I would go to synagogue for a bar mitzvah, especially as a family member. I'd definitely go. So it's interesting how they're okay with voting. And by the way, subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. That's almost at 15,000 subs. Subscribe to Bizarro World Goodman. I'll have a segment later this evening, a hilarious one regarding all the nonsense going on. I'll be your worst nightmare with my wig and mustache and disguise. Bizarro World Goodman. I'll be screeching and yelling at the top of my lungs regarding Trump. And if you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below. I will have a live stream, of course, later this evening, so check that out. The Justice Department is siding with the Virginia church in its challenge to a state shutdown order limiting the size of religious gatherings, claiming it violates constitutional guarantees of free expression. Of course it does. Federal authorities filed notice Sunday of their support for the Lighthouse Fellowship Church in the resort town of Chincoteague Island, after the pastor was cited last month by local police for hosting a service attended by 16 people, 6 more than allowed for such in-person gatherings during the health emergency. Half, by the way, of all the lives lost are in 3 states, the majority of which are in 2 states. The majority of the lives lost are in 2 states, but if you add Michigan, it's over half. New York, New Jersey, and Michigan, all Democratic Party run Democratic governors. Well, de Blasio, but in New York City. But all Cuomo, Whitmer, and Murphy, these are Democratic governors. Half of the entire country. Virginia does not have the issues that New York, New Jersey, and Michigan have. Neither does Wyoming. Neither does California. Yet everyone's taking their sweet time opening up the economy. The United States economy and places of worship should have been renamed the Democratic primary. That would have opened the economy up long ago in March. Because notice they never asked Fauci if they could hold 4 primaries with millions of people. You can do the math, but here, I'll give you the numbers in a second. But here, the church, whose congregates include recovering drug addicts and former prostitutes, has asserted that the restrictions ordered in March by Governor Ralph Northam violate religious freedom. This is why I'm voting for President Trump. One of the reasons, in addition to the fact he's going up against crooked, corrupt people like Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, very corrupt, in addition to the fact that he is bringing home Americans from never-ending conflict, in addition to the fact, like I said, he was the first president to step foot in North Korea, the fact that we had record low unemployment and an amazing economy before all of this, and you kind of wonder, you think that Democrats are dragging their feet just to tank, perhaps, I don't know, the economy? I wouldn't say that, but it's interesting how they allowed millions upon millions, and we'll do the math in a second, of people to vote. But here, federal intervention follows a warning issued last week by Attorney General William Barr that the Justice Department was reviewing shutdown orders issued by states to guard against overly restrictive policies. So many politicians, Democratic primarily, they're trying to see what they can get away with. You can't go to beaches, you can't go to parks, you can't do this, you can't do that. We're going to protect you from yourself. And it's like, well, then go ahead and ban alcohol, then ban fried foods and fast food, ban smoking tomorrow. How many people lose their lives in drunk driving accidents? How many people ban... How many legal drugs do people overdose on? Ban all those drugs. Just ban everything that could possibly lead to losing your life, because we need government to be mommy and daddy. We can't live our lives anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently, the wonderful Democratic governors, Cuomo, for example, on March 1st, go check the tweet, stated that the risk is low. The risk remains low in New York. There's no reason for undue anxiety. Boy, was he wrong. Yeah, he was really wrong. And God bless the people of New York, New Jersey, and Michigan. I've only known the most amazing people in New York, New Jersey, and Michigan. But You have but those states have over half of the lives lost, and they're run by Democrats, and Democrats drop the ball, and then you have a media that's rabid, frothing at the mouth, hysterical every single day, blaming everything on Trump. Meanwhile, the Democratic governors presided over a tragedy. But I'll read you. This is William Barr. Many policies that would be unthinkable in regular times have become commonplace in recent weeks, and we do not want to unduly interfere with the important efforts of state and local officials to protect the public. 30 million unemployed, by the way. So 30 million people unemployed, people who can't afford even medication for their children or themselves, or clothing or food. But we're going to protect everyone from this current crisis when a big part of the catastrophe is in 3 states, and 7 of the top 10 states, where there are the most cases, are run by Democratic governors. And we have 50 states, and we have 320 million people, and we have 30 million people unemployed now. And now you have Virginia. Oh, you can't. You're 6 people above the limit. So if you wanna, I think it's fantastic that William Barr is doing this and siding with this church, but the Constitution is not suspended in times of crisis. We must therefore be vigilant to ensure its protections are preserved at the same time that the public is protected. The DOJ's weekend action marks the second time in as many months that the federal government has sided with a church in a dispute over in-person worship services. Last month, the government sided with the Mississippi church after congregants were cited by local police while attendance in a drive-in service. You know, the interesting thing is, if they took it so seriously, Democrats, they wouldn't have had millions upon millions of people voting on March 17th and then a week later. But they don't. See, this is the thing. Believe when it's Kavanaugh. Don't believe when it's Biden. Russia when it's Trump. Oh, you know what? I guess the only people who actually did work with Russia purchased a Steele dossier. That's right, Hillary Clinton. And the DNC, by the way, 11 minutes in, Hillary Clinton's going to be the nominee for the Democratic Party. I told you this in 2017. This will be the biggest political call of all time. Share my article on the Huffington Post. It's below in the pinned comment and description. First thing you see, Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. But here, in the Virginia case, the church pastor, Kevin Wilson, was cited for violating the state order following an April 5th Palm Sunday service, which drew 16 people to a sanctuary with more than 220 seats. The church has argued that the group followed appropriate social distancing and personal hygiene protocols. Like, what more do they want? They want like Mission Impossible, like floating down above the pews. Like, what is Ralph Northam, the wonderful moral person who gets dressed up in horrible attire? And that's another thing, Democrats. Oh my God! Oh, it's just Ralph Northam. It's fine. It's a Democrat, and they get caught with their pants down, literally and figuratively. It's like, no problem. But if it's anyone else, oh my God! The church attorneys claim Northam's order clearly discriminated against Lighthouse Fellowship Church, which provided essential physical, emotional, and spiritual services to the community. God bless these people. That's fantastic. And William Barr is awesome for intervening. This church does not have internet and cannot flip a switch to broadcast online, Matt Staver said when the church announced his lawsuit. Pastor Wilson protected the health and safety of the 16 people that attended on Palm Sunday by requiring them to spread apart in the sanctuary. Democrats don't care about the congregants. They just their main thing is, in the back of their minds, or even more than that, they want to tank Trump's economy, make everyone's life miserable, because they never asked Fauci whether they can have their primaries. Now, let's just get to really quickly. So William Barr also sided with a church in Mississippi, I believe. But here, do the math. Illinois primary. Do the math, people. Do the math. You have 1,674,133 people who voted in the Illinois primary. Okay? The majority of which voted in person. So just do the math. 1,674 1 million. I'm sorry. What am I saying? 1,674,133. To do the math, this is the interactive H.A. Goodman upload. 1,674,133. 1,674,133. Okay? People voted in Illinois. Now add that to Arizona, and you have, let's see, 536,509 people voted. Okay? 536,509 people voted in Arizona. Okay. Then you have Florida. 1,739,214 people voted, of which in person, I have the figures here, is 1,077,375. So add that number, 1,077,375. Okay? So you're looking at, what, well over 3 to 4 million people. Then you have Wisconsin. And Wisconsin, you had 924,151 people. 924,151 people. So you're looking at over 4 million people voting. Okay, around 4 million. So 4 million people can vote. And by the way, the majority of which they were on March 17th. The Wisconsin primaries, April 7th. So I didn't do the math. You do the math. Say around 4 million people voted. Around 4 million people voted. And they're okay with that. They never asked Fauci. Maybe even more. I didn't do the numbers, but they didn't ask Fauci. Why? But you better not go to church. You better not go to the beach. You better not get a haircut. Forget about it. That's like, DEFCON 1. Give me your thoughts below. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. Subscribe to Bizarro World Goodman. The links are below. I'll have a great segment later this evening. Hilarious. And I'll have a live stream, of course, later this evening. And check out my next segment on John Radcliffe. Thank you, everyone. Give me your thoughts and give me the addition of all the people who voted